What is happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. Guys, I'm Mike Spider Slayer, and we also have Brant from Only Good Comics.
What's up,
and
everybody?
Then we have Kat from Comic Uno.
Hello.
Hopefully everyone is having a wonderful evening so far. Glad you could all be with us tonight. We're a couple hours away from New Comic Book Day, which is always very exciting. But before we get to New Comic Book Day, we got to close out the week and talk about the old comics. We got to talk about the comic books week's worth of news and all kinds of great things. So we will start off with the news this week, and then we'll talk about, obviously, the main topic with Ultimate Spider-Man and all that other stuff. So, and we'll take your guys' questions, as many as we possibly can, at least showcase them here like we're doing right now. And so let's go ahead, Kat. Let's get this party started.
Yes. So there's not a ton of news, but there's some interesting pieces here. So first up, this was something that was announced today. Spawn's getting another miniseries. This is with a teenage character, Misery. Do you know this character from the Spawn books? Like, who are they, Mike?
Well, so supposedly this is actually Al's daughter. So This is a character that we have not really, I guess, from what I know, I haven't read all that much of Spawn since it's been released, since like the issue 300. And I mostly pay attention to Gunslinger Spawn, but I just picked up Spawn recently. But as far as I know, we haven't seen a lot of Spawn's actual daughter, and she's a teenager, and it looks like she has powers. And this sounds something that might be up my alley. I don't know. I'm gonna have to, dive into this a little bit. But this one is a $2.99 book as well, just like all the other Spawn books. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what it has to offer here.
I feel like I'd give this one a shot, maybe, but I feel like the one thing about Spawn, at least from what I've noticed, it's always like it's never really new reader friendly. Even when you pick up the issue ones, you're like, okay, I'm kind of like lost.
Well, I mean, I can tell you that, I read Sam and Twitch this week, and we'll talk about it later. I mean, I don't know.
That was new reader friendly.
I didn't really feel that you needed to know a lot about those guys. And then Gunslinger Spawn, when I picked it up, it was pretty new reader friendly, in my opinion, because he's a standalone character. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's just, you really don't even have to follow the main book to understand what's going on in his world. So I feel like they've done a pretty good job here. And this might be something a little bit different than your traditional, hey, Spawn character. So I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Well, we're going to jump into Uncanny X-Men's writer. I'm reading the thing. Gail Simone is reviving the classic UK horror comic Misty, which I've never heard of. So yeah, I'm out of the loop of this.
I've never heard of it either. The reason this caught my attention, I saw it on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, the other day. And it's obviously Gail Simone, the big name involved with that. But it was also Carola Borelli. There was another big name. There was another Tulu Lote, and there was one other person. It was like a whole collection of big names in comics, and especially female creators as well. So I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm curious about it. I don't know much about it.
Who's publishing it? Do we have that information?
I don't know. Let's see. Does it say in this article or no?
Let me see. I did not check, but I'm guessing if we do know, then it would be in this article.
Yeah.
I think it's 2000 AD, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe they created the character at least.
Right. Yeah, so it might be. So that's cool,
I might check it out. I might.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of those things.
That's all I really had to say about it. Yeah. Yeah. I just thought it was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it is. No, I was gonna say I feel like those are the type of books where it's just like this type of week. It was hard to try out new issue ones, but like tomorrow I'm only getting like 9 books. So if Misty comes out when I'm getting 9 books, it's a little bit eeasier than when you're getting 20.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
sure.
So it really depends on the week. All right, let's move on to the next thing. We are on the topic of X-Men. Gail Simone obviously is doing Uncanny X-Men, and the first year is going to be 18 issues, which that always scares me. I'm just like, just give me a one a month. Just give me a really solid one a month. So I don't like it when we get too many issues, because I feel like it never works out for the better. I feel it's always like, oh, you're wearing the story out a little bit.
Well, you know what though too, there's going to be more mutants that she's introducing in her series, so that small team that you have, it's going to be bigger. Because remember last week or whatever it was, I was like, man, it's such a small compact team, and there's a reason now because of it, because she's going to introduce her own characters.
I also wonder, are we leading up to any kind of milestone issue? Because that could explain why we're cramming so many issues in as well. I don't know where the legacy numbering is. Yeah.
I guess maybe we'll find out when that time comes, right? I mean,
yeah.
My only thing with this is like, I don't really have an issue with having 18 issues. I mean, my problem, I think, that I have is just introducing new mutants. We already have so many mutants out there in the world. Why do we need to introduce new ones? I don't know. That's just my thing, There's so many other characters out there that haven't gotten their spotlight in a long time, and I just feel like introducing new ones, eventually they're going to wind up getting lost again.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, eventually, yeah, they should. But coming off of the Age of Krakoa, where there were so many mutants involved in different areas of that story, maybe slow it down and scale it down a bit for a while. I agree. Yeah.
And you're already getting new mutants as well in Kate Pryde's and Emma Frost's book.
Yeah.
So you're getting new mutants there as well. So that worries me a little bit.
Yeah, and I feel like the Kitty Pryde book's the only one that kind of makes sense, because like, all right, you have your other teams. One book is okay with new mutants because you're like, okay, that's what the book's about. But yeah, if everything has new mutants, it gets to be a lot. And I think something that, and we'll talk about Ultimate Spider-Man later on, but I think something that the Ultimate Universe has been doing right is that they do introduce a lot, but it feels like it's paced a little bit better. Because again, we have Nico coming up, and that's just one character. She's showing up in like whatever issue 3, let's say. Spider-Man is like, all right, first issue had Uncle Ben. Now issue 3, we're at Green Goblin. Like, it gives you some time to breathe with some of these characters. I think X-Men is just like, here's 10 characters, 1 issue, good luck. And I know for us that have been reading comics forever, it doesn't really matter because we know who all the X-Men are. But the whole point of rebooting something is to get new people into the X-Men or get more people into comics. And I don't think that's going to happen here. Maybe it will, maybe I'm wrong, but I do think it gets too confusing when there's too many characters.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you have just the right amount of characters, it's fine. You don't need to overwhelm the readers. It's like, it's almost like you go on the other end of the spectrum and you do what like Peach Momoko's doing. It looks like she's doing a character an issue. Which I
don't mind. I like that more.
Right. So what you do that way is then you get invested in the characters. You feel more connected to them. So then when they become a team, you know everything about them. And when that time comes or something bad happens to them, you have that connection with that character. And I think that's what really makes a good comic book.
Mike Mahan said, I thought people wanted new characters in comics. I think people think they want new characters in comics. They're like, I think they want that, but I think it just always has to be organic. I think Miss Marvel is a weird example, because I was going to say a good example of an organic character, but she was introduced for the Inhumans. She was introduced for an event. That just so happened to be a character that did feel a little bit more organic. I'm trying to think of in that era. There's Miles Morales is a good example of, characters that just kind of blew up on their own. And I think that's what you need to do with new characters. And if you introduce 10 new characters in a book, it's going to be really hard to fall in love with that character. The reason people liked Kamala or Gwen or Miles is because they had their individual books. So you got to get to know them.
I just feel like these characters are being introduced because the writer's writing an X-Men book and they feel like, oh, I want to introduce my new character, and it's just like, well, why can't we write the characters that we have that have been around and let's write them, let's have a good story for them, right? And I don't know. I mean, I get why they want to do it because they kind of want to put their own stamp on the book. But, it is what it is. Hopefully I'm wrong. I'm not discrediting it in any way. I just want to, it just worries me a little bit as it can be overwhelming sometimes for people.
Sure. Yeah. And I think that's what it boils down to. You don't want them to get lost in the mix because you're already relaunching the entire line. You're introducing new story arcs and all this stuff and kind of reestablishing where all these characters are, and then you're throwing a bunch of new characters on top of that. It could be a lot to follow, and like you said, they could get lost really quickly. But hopefully that's not the case. Yeah. And Gail Simone's really good at balancing characters, so we'll see.
All right, moving on to Webtoon. We got the tipping system that's being introduced mid-year. As a Webtoon creator, I'm excited about this. I think this is interesting. We've seen it with other platforms like Tapas. They do a tipping system. I know with Tapas's tipping system, Tapas gets a % of the tips, which is really interesting. So I don't know if Webtoon's gonna go that direction, but I think it's cool. Webtoon used to have this creator program where you can make more money depending on viewership and stuff, and they took that away. A lot of people were upset about it. So maybe this is their way of being like, look, you can make some more money and keeping it on the website, because a lot of Webtoon creators, they have patrons and Patreons, and that's how they make their money. So they're like, oh wait, maybe we could kind of keep it on the site. So I'm curious to see how it does, and I hope it does well for me as a creator, but then other creators on the platform too.
So then it's like at this point you're kind of, it's up to the person that's reading it if they want to tip you, right? Am I correct on that?
Yeah, and then also like Webtoon, there's a coin system. So if you want to buy Webtoon episodes ahead, which you can, and the originals you can do that, you have to buy coins through the App Store. So I'm guessing, and this hasn't been announced, the coins would be the tipping system. So let's say you buy coins to unlock new episodes. Then if you have leftover coins, maybe you'll tip your favorite creators. So that's my guess of what's going to end up happening.
Interesting. That's very interesting. I mean, yeah, I guess you're relying on, people that are reading it to tip you, which you would hope that they do that. And I think I like a monetization system better. Like
they have ads. It's just that you get extra money. Yeah. So you have ads on Webtoon. This is just extra money.
Okay. Gotcha.
It feels similar to like super chats on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of similar concept. Yeah. That's what I got from it.
They are, and I think what's going to be interesting in looking at YouTube's versions, that you get super chats, and you highlight comments, or you get the emojis and you create new emojis. I'm wondering if Webtoons will do something like that, or is it just tipping? Like, will they make it look special? Because then it's like, well, I mean, I hope people would want to tip, but also it's like, are you going to give incentive to the people who want to tip?
Yeah. I think that'd be a better route to go. Give them something, to show that they've supported it, because that makes people feel good.
I agree.
That's cool.
I think it is pretty good. But that's actually all the news. So we're gonna jump into my Kickstarter. I don't think
the Valiant stuff.
The Valiant stuff. I'm sorry. Then we'll talk about Valiant, and then we'll talk about Kickstarter. I forgot about. I usually well, let me answer this question from Tevia first. I don't want another subscription service. Not a subscription service, just tipping. Just think about it as like if you're going to a coffee shop, you're not subscribing to a coffee. You're just buying the coffee. And if you really like the barista, you're giving them a tip.
Right, yeah.
So no subscriptions there. You can still read Webtoon for free. It's just if you want to help the creators and do that, which I think is a cool way to, support your fellow creators. All right, I'm going to screen share the Valiant stuff. So there's new Valiant titles. They were, I guess, teaming up with Alien Comics. I don't want to say acquired, because I do think it's like more of a mutual thing going on. The Alien books now works with Valiant, so now they're releasing new books for their new line. It's called The Resurgence of the Valiant Universe. So we have the Valiants issue 1. That's written by Ryan Caddy and art by Al Barinovo. Then we also have, actually it's written by Al Barinovo, and then maybe maybe it's the art by him, because the way they wrote it is by Ryan Caddy. Okay, I still think it's the art. Then Joe, and this is only 2 issues. Jody Hauser and Aletta Biddle, they're doing Faith, but only 2 issues. Exo Man of War. Go on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm happy to see Jody Hauser still on Faith, but go ahead.
Well, that's one thing I'll name all the titles, but that's definitely something that's really interesting. We were talking about before the show is that it's mostly the same creators working on these books. But Exo Man of War is the creative team from Batgirl, so Becky and Michael, and then Furukua is doing the art. So then we got Nidjak versus Roku, AJ Ampadu, who I haven't heard of, so maybe they're a newer writer, which is cool. And then we have Bloodshot, which is just continuing. So I mean, that's something that's interesting. I agree. It's the same creators and it's the same books. So if you've been enjoying Valiant, continue to enjoy it. If you've never read any of their books, may try it out.
I might check out. What are you going to check out, Brant? Faith?
Definitely Faith. Yeah, I think there's also an Eternals or something like that down below, and then I think they're doing some kind of event book as well, but I'm not positive where this is all headed. But
I think
Faith is definitely
need to that.
Yeah, exactly. Faith is the main one. The Valiants probably because it's multiple characters. I try Exo and Ninjak every time, and I just can't get into them.
Really?
And
Same.
I'll try the Valiants. Exo, the original run was really, really good. Because it was written by Venditti, so the original one was pretty good. I already read Bloodshot issue 1. I think a lot of people didn't even know that book came out, and it came out 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately for me, it wasn't very good. It was it tried to be almost like a Deadpool type of book, and
that's really different for that. I thought it was a grittier series.
It was. Listen, it was gory, you know what I'm saying? But it was one of those books where it's he's got a talking guy next to him, kind of like how Nightcrawler did in the Uncanny. He's got a little guy talking to him, and he's just he's trying to defeat another robot that's like him, that's killing everybody. And it just was a rinse and repeat type of story. It wasn't very interesting. I didn't like it. Artwork was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. And the story just, it was unfortunate. It just did not capture me whatsoever.
That's such a weird take because he always strikes me as a Punisher type character.
It just
Deadpool route.
What they were going for just didn't work, in my opinion.
Yeah, gotcha.
But I don't know. I'll see about the other titles. Maybe they might be pretty good.
I'm just glad, for the fans of Valiant that they didn't just, disappear again. That they've got some kind of, no pun intended, but resurgence. So
and that they're doing their relaunch thing again, because that's what made them popular back when in 2010, whenever they relaunched. So it was cool that they're kind of doing a similar thing. I don't know if it'll be, the same effect, but like you said, Brian, I do think it's more for the people who already love Valiant, will continue to love Valiant and get the books that they want. And again, it's proven by having a lot of the similar creators, and Jody Hauser in particular, I feel has written most of Faith. So
yeah, for sure. So, but I'm good with that. So
yeah. Faith is definitely the one that was always the one I enjoyed the most too. I don't know if I'll reinvest, especially only with 2 issues, but out of all of them, that's the one I liked. And
still got her on my desk, Kat.
Yeah, you loved Faith. Yeah, I think you're probably the biggest next to Lisa. I know Lisa liked Faith too. You're the biggest Faith fan I know.
I just think it's because she could be us, you know. She's very relatable.
She's a very fun character. And the only other one I like really liked, and I loved this series, was Jeff Lemire's Bloodshot. I thought that was a really good series, just because I was pleasantly surprised by it. But yeah, so that's all the news. We're gonna jump into some Kickstarters, and we're gonna talk about comics because a lot of books came out this week. I'm gonna talk about not my campaign that's live, which is just enamel pins, which is doing well. But I'm happy about that. I'm gonna talk about a book that's coming out April 15th that I'm really excited about. So this is the book, Brant, I was teasing you months ago saying I'm not going to say anything, so I want to jinx it. This is the book. It's a Wizard of Oz book, Witches of Oz. We got to see Glinda and the Wicked Witch finally get together, and Glinda's an outcast, so now the only person she could turn to is the Wicked Witch. And the big announcement is that Terry Moore of Strangers of Paradise, Rachel Rising, all those fun books, did a cover for it and did our Wicked homage. So we're really excited about it. It's only been live, pre-launch page live for like a day. We're almost to like 500 followers. So really excited about this one. Go follow it, because I will say here, we have the original art from Terry Moore. So if you want the Wicked original art, jump in first day. So I have a feeling that one's gonna go away pretty quickly.
Yeah,
so
probably will.
Yeah, grab that.
Sure.
So follow the page so you're the first one back.
I was follower 399. So just
Ooh.
I was like, oh, not 400, darn it. But
I was gonna say, I wish you waited so you could have been 400. But yeah, we're proud of that one. We're super proud of it. We're hoping it does just as well as Beast and Snow, which did very well. So, and it's Terry Moore. I've been such a fan of his for a long time. So to get him on a cover is really cool. So yes. Really cool. Check it out. And it is not safe for work, but I will say it is not safe for work as the Wonderland book we had and the Snow book. I would say it's more mature. Like there is nudity, but there's not as much nudity for this one. So go check it out. Cool. Let's I jump into some comic books.
All right, let's do it, guys. Let me switch it over here to the comics from the news. All right, so let's talk about it because this is going to be our main topic anyway. So let's talk about Ultimate Spider-Man issue 3. So this is probably one of the biggest books of the week, and we got the reveal of Harry Osborn in this comic book, and we find out, like, is he friend or is he foe? And right now, from the looks of it, it looks like he is friend. But do you think he's going to stay friend or is he going to become an enemy? And it might be one of those things where, you keep your enemies closer type of deal. I think it might be that.
I think it's also going to be hard to tell with Harry, right? Because that's something, what's interesting about this book in general is that, and I said this in my review, is that Harry Osborn, the reveal, who cares? We've seen him as Green Goblin before. But what I like about this comic is that they didn't rely on the reveal like a lot of Spider-Man books have done in the past 5 years. It's just like, who is he? What's going on? And it's like, no, it doesn't matter that it's Harry. It's about what is his motives. And because it's Harry and not Norman, it really could be anything, because we've seen Harry as the villain. We've seen him as the hero. So that's what I also like about Harry being Green Goblin, because he really could go either way. Right. And because it's the Ultimate Universe, anything can happen.
Right. It's not who is the Green Goblin, and it's the mystery of the character.
It's like, why?
His personality. So that's what's cool about it. So I thought that was cool. But the overall issue itself, I thought was once again fantastic. It was a great opening to the book, with May and Peter trying to figure out the costume. I thought that was really a lot of fun, going from a black costume to like a Ben Reilly costume to an Iron Spider to Spider-Man Blue, until finally getting to that point. It was cool. And then seeing her like ride her father's back, I thought that was kind of awesome too. Just lots of good moments. And what makes this book very special, and what makes it different is that 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 Uncle Ben and J. Jonah Jameson like relationship. It adds a totally different dynamic to this comic that we've never seen before. It gives it that fresh feeling,
because they're friends too, which is really because you could tell they're like really good buddies just trying to make a company, which is cool. And I think that's the best thing about Ultimate Spider-Man in general. It's just so well balanced. It's just every time it tops itself because it's not trying too hard. It's just kind of doing its own thing.
Yeah, it's funny. I meant to edit a video and put it up today, and I totally forgot about it. But I'm saying like all this stuff y'all are saying about this book, so it's kind of funny. But yeah, I don't know. It just feels like familiar yet fresh and new at the same time, just like the original Ultimate Spider-Man did. And I love that they found a way to do that and look at it from a completely different perspective, because none of these characters were superheroes before. And, Peter and Harry didn't grow up together. They didn't go to school together. There's, and they're meeting each other for the first time here. So it's going to be a completely different dynamic, but it's still going to feel very familiar to us. So I'm really curious to see where that relationship goes. Like, is he a hero, or is he just out there like protecting the company and working for that purpose and stuff? And I think at some point they're going to come to odds, but is it going to be a hero villain kind of thing? Is Harry going to go crazy like his dad did in the 616? There's just a lot of questions, but it's just so good. And it's like those small moments like you all talked about with like the costumes and stuff that just, it's just, I don't know. It's just a really good comic, and it's really surprised me. Every issue has surprised me. And I just keep waiting for like, when's it going to not, when's it going to, shift to that, the Hickman style that doesn't really appeal to me. And it's just, it doesn't feel like it's going to get there. It just, I don't know. There's something different about this one.
It feels like a different writer, because it's just like everything I've ever read of Hickman. And maybe it's just me. There's a lot of different voices being told here. I don't know what the backstory is here, but it's just so different than anything else he's ever written in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it shows you that he can write, a story with just a few characters and not being complicated. I think that's what's so good about it. And, going back to Harry as the Green Goblin, what did you guys think that it was so easy for him to tap into Peter's technology like that? Like that little thing is like, man, that's scary, because if he can do that easily, then it's like he'll beat Spider-Man no problem.
Yeah, and not just that, there was no hesitancy. It's like he didn't care about secret identity. He didn't care about any of that stuff. And it was in one, I don't know. On one side of it, it's like, I just want to introduce myself, want to make an ally and stuff. But at the other side of it, it was kind of a power move. It was like, hey, I'm in control here. So
he kind of like forced him to do it, which was interesting.
It's just like, and he didn't have to. He could have just sat there and just said, "Hey, man, let's be pals. Let's show each other's face and let's move on." What did you guys think of Bullseye in this issue?
It was cool to see him. I don't know if he did much to show anything else, but like the outfit was cool, the action was cool.
Yeah,
I wonder if we will get a like reveal on who that character actually is, if it's the same person or not.
Yeah, that could be interesting. So, I kind of hope it's not now.
I mean, and then again, the Uncle Ben and J. Jonah Jameson scene, when they're doing this investigation and things like that in their new office, I thought was kind of funny as a complete dump and stuff like that. And you got to appreciate the humor in this comic as well when you sat there and see Spider-Man or Peter doing the stakeout, eating donuts and stuff like that. That's just like, and the humor is in this comic as well too.
Yeah, for sure. It's elements like that, the stakeout and the dump of an office and stuff. It feels like this could be pulled from like a 1 hour drama on TV, and it just feels like, I don't know. There's just I don't know how to articulate what I'm trying to say, but going back to Ben and Jonah, that's just a friendship that I never thought I would ever want or like. And it just fits so perfectly. And it's fun. It's fun, this comic. That's the best compliment I can give to it.
Yeah.
Well, and again, it's a comic that you get excited to go to the comic book store. I always say that, where it's like, I think, and I was already talking about next week's comics, or tomorrow's comics. I'm just like, even I was doing my most anticipated. I'm like, is there a book where I'm like, wow, I can't wait to go to the comic book store? Not really. But when Ultimate Spider-Man comes out, or Green Lantern, those type of books where I'm like, damn, I can't wait. I want to see what happens next.
Yeah. Here, Silent Smurf says, heard a lot of people say Bullseye could be Gambit because of the way he was flipping the cards, right?
Yeah.
Like the way he was.
Could be interesting.
Yeah. The way he was flipping things. I thought that was kind of fun.
Could, but I think that's also like a Bullseye thing. Like he uses items as Bullseyes, so I think it's a coincidence, but I guess you'll never know. I mean, if you have Nico in an X-Men book, anything's possible.
Yeah. But overall, I mean, great comic book. Is just one of the best. And next issue, this is where we're going to get Chiquetto takes the issue off and you get Gwen Stacy. So we're going to see how this book is different with a different artist. So
I'm excited to see Gwen. I don't know what she's going to be doing. Like because she kind of, again, we said this last time, but she seems like she's taking such a Liz Allen role. She's obviously because of her death, but then the Spider-Gwen aspect of it, like people really like Gwen as a character. So I can't see her just being like the doting wife either. So I don't really know what they're going to do with her. I can see her being evil here. I don't know. There was something about her on that cover. I'm like, she looks evil, but maybe she looks like Liz Allen again.
Yeah. I could see her being evil or having some kind of, I think it would be a disservice just to make her, the doting wife, like you said. So
there's definitely going to be something though, that's going to cause some serious trauma because we have not,
but that's it.
But that was an afterthought. Like that's an afterthought. Like while you're reading this comic, there's definitely something that's going to happen, I think, it could be Ben because again, it's like almost like destiny.
Or J. Jonah
Jameson. That if I had my guess.
But there's also no other people with powers. Like I think even the other Ultimate Spider-Man, they added like Human Torch and Kitty Pryde. I mean, I guess you have Green Goblin, but it's not a power thing. So I'm curious by that as well.
You want to talk about a real slap in the face if they sat there and they killed off Mary Jane in this comic?
I think this comic would fail if that happened.
Yeah.
And then he's forced to raise the kids on his own.
I don't think they're gonna do that. I don't know, but I don't think they'll. I hope they're not stupid enough for that.
That would be. Yeah, I agree, but that would be one ballsy move. I
just thought of who Gwen could be. Black Cat.
Honestly, that would be fun. That'd be really fun.
That would be fun.
Yeah. I would like to see that. That would be freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'd be game for that. Because Tevia said, how about Gwen was Green Goblin? I feel like been there, done that. They're doing it.
She's already got in the Spider-Man 2099 book.
Exactly. Right. So like I've seen that. Black Cat's so interesting. I agree. I think that'd be cool. But yeah, she's got to be something. I think it'll be honestly revealed next issue. I don't think they're just going to introduce her. I think we're going to have an introduction, have a cliffhanger with her. Because they did it with Harry. They're like, all right, let's just show what's going on. I think I saw another question from Tevia talking about sales, but we say this every single time, but we don't know the sales for these books. We don't know what's doing better. We can only assume Ultimate Spider-Man's doing better, but we don't actually know how badly or well.
The only thing I can tell is that when I go on League of Comic Geeks, it's pulled more.
How many people pull? Yeah,
it's pulled more than Amazing Spider-Man. So that again, it's just a pull. It's not an official sale, but if it's on someone's pull list, then it's an indicator that there's a lot more people at least interested in it.
It was weird that
buy it.
It was weird that Amazing Spider-Man and Ultimate Spider-Man came out on the same week.
Yes.
Like I didn't even, which we'll talk about this issue obviously, but it was interesting that they both came out because it's the first time that happened. But I guess eventually it was going to happen because Amazing Spider-Man does come out a lot. Like comes out twice a month. So.
Yep, absolutely. But overall, great book. I am curious to see what will happen with Harry if he's friend, foe, anti-hero. You just don't know. So. he's a little bit scary in my eye because of what he did to Peter's costume right from the start. So
yeah,
it seems like he wants to be in control. So we'll see. I think time will tell. All right, so let's move on to another book that has green in it. This one is Green Arrow. This is issue 10. I know Kat was really excited about this one because we get basically the whole Arrow family together again. Because Ali was missing in this, he was missing for quite some time. And this is the first time where he like reunites with everybody, right? And we were left with a huge cliffhanger from the last issue with him getting assigned a mission to go to the sanctuary to kind of rescue Roy. And so my opinion of this book is that it was cool to see him reunite with everybody, but there was a lot of hugging going on and there was not enough action. And it was a book where it was like, I wanted more to deal with the plot that was at hand. I still liked it. And I still liked the artwork in it and those moments, but it kind of felt like, oh, you got this great cliffhanger and you're not really to that point, right? It's like, oh, let's get to the point now where we're gonna fight a fake Justice League. And I was like, oh, what's up with that? But I still like the book.
I like this issue. I think it's a shame that they're keeping it at like maxi series and it's not an ongoing, because you can kind of tell they're trying to like really do everything. Do everything in this book without doing everything. Like the girls, I love seeing them, and I think they're in character, and it's cool because if you never met them before, they explain who they are very well. But it's also like you're just kind of having a fun Easter egg with them. They're not really in the issue. They're not doing anything. They're just kind of reintroducing them, which is still fun. And I like seeing them, but it just wasn't. They got a lot to bite off, and they're doing as well as they can. I still, like you said, really like the issue, but it's hard to say this is like a perfect issue because it's like it's not focusing on one character. It's just it has a lot to accomplish and not enough pages to do so.
Correct.
Actually, I think they changed it. I think it is an ongoing now. It was a 12 issue.
Is it?
And then,
okay, good.
Yeah,
I don't know why they're rushing it then. That's so weird.
I thought it was 6 issues and then it got extended to 12 issues.
Me too.
I didn't know it was ongoing.
Yeah, let's see. There's a tweet by Joshua Williamson. I don't know when this was, but it says, "Let's put the rumors to rest. Green Arrow is officially an ongoing series again."
Oh, nice. Okay.
Now, whether that's changed again since that, I don't know, but that was the last I saw.
I'm happy to hear that. I think the one thing that might have happened here is that they were writing this arc and didn't know it was an ongoing at this point.
Realize, hey, we need a little more space. Yeah, but I like this issue too. I do wish there was more of the whole family getting together and doing more, because a lot of it was just him coming back in contact with them. At different points in the story.
And he's like, I'm going inside and you guys are all staying out here.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully we'll get more of it in next issue or maybe the issue after that. If he's inside the whole next issue, we'll have to see. But I like where it's heading. If it's going to involve all those characters, I like where it's heading, and I still enjoyed the story. But I can get your point that there wasn't enough of that. But it's still a solid series, and I really enjoyed the issue.
Really solid. I'm still one of my favorite superhero books right now.
Yeah, it's really good.
Absolutely. All right. So let's go to a book that Brant and I talk about, or read, I should say. Duke, issue 4. So this is the penultimate issue. We get to see Duke work with the Baroness very loosely in this comic book as she takes an escape. And then we wind up seeing Duke escape himself, go to Mars, not Mars the planet, but Mars where Destro rules. And it's kind of funny in this comic to see like how much involved Destro is in the overall grand scheme of things of Cobra. You know what I'm saying? All the equipment, everything attached to it, and just like and Duke avoiding all kinds of situations, getting to that base. He comes across Scrap Iron, which is a toy that I bought during Thanksgiving break when I was a kid. I love that character. I went to Walgreens one day and I was like, my mom was like, you can buy something, and I bought Scrap Iron. It's so funny. And then by the time you get to the end of it, you wind up seeing the bats at the end try to capture Duke. And I was like, man, they're just like really hitting it. In my opinion here, Brant, I feel like this book in many ways is just better than the actual G.I. Joe book because it goes to the point of what we were talking about earlier when it came to the X-Men. This book is introducing a single character or a few characters. So you get Duke and you get some of the other villains, the Baroness, you get a little bit of Destro. And it's just like, then you get the Cobra Commander book where it's having a story about Cobra Commander and it's introducing you to all these characters. You're going to get the Scarlet book in the future. We're getting the other, what was the other one?
Destro.
Yeah, Destro book. So it's slowly introducing you to all these characters where in the future, I think we're going to get a much larger book. And where we have the original G.I. Joe book, it's kind of like, okay, here was issue 301. We're continuing where we left off. Here's all the characters. Here's everything in your face. And I can see that being overwhelming for people that wanted to jump on board on that series. So the way it's done here, I think it's done perfectly.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like during the Marvel run of that original G.I. Joe series, it was much more scaled down. You would have certain Joes going on missions, and you wouldn't just like throw them all unless it was like this big event and it was like the culmination of a longer story arc. But now, like since it's been an IEDW and now Image, it feels like you are getting just like a bunch of characters all the time, and it's hard. It's like Transformers. It's a little hard to follow. A lot of characters don't get their spotlight and stuff, but that's where the Energon universe stuff is doing it right. Like you said, it's more scaled down. You're slowly introducing these characters, little by little. And the cool thing is, like, again, you're getting a lot of fan service in these books. Seeing the bats, that was really fun, really cool. Seeing Destro, like you said, having his hand in a lot of different pots, which is something they touch on, like through the cartoon and everything, but it's never full on like that. You don't get to see a lot of that. And you're starting to see how influential he was to the entire formation of Cobra because like everything comes from him, right? Which is really interesting. But I still think, and I know it wasn't for you, Kat, but I still think it gives a lot to people coming into because you're going at this from the very beginning. It's just I get it. If you're not a fan of that kind of thing, it's it's still hard. It's a hard win. So
anytime you guys say Deathstroke, I keep thinking you guys are saying Deathstroke, and I'm just like, yeah, Deathstroke's here.
I don't know who came first, but yeah,
I'm glad you guys are liking it. I feel like Deathstroke, G.I. Joe, I'm guessing came first because
maybe I don't remember. Yeah. It was Destro was like in the early G.I. Joe stuff, so it was the early 80s, 82 maybe.
Deathstroke was in early 80s, so probably around the same time.
So around the same time, yeah. So who knows?
All right. Someone stole something. But yes, glad you guys are liking it. I know Mike said that this is better than the G.I. Joe series itself, but I mean the G.I. Joe series itself has been going on for like hundreds of issues. So I'm guessing that's more of its own thing. And this is more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's just when they brought it over to here, you would have thought they would have made it new reader friendly, and they really haven't. They really.
I don't think they wanted to because it's just like I want people. They're like, hey, the people that like Larry Hama, I want you guys to continue to read that. Like, it's like the Marvel nostalgia books they release.
Right.
Yeah. And, during the whole run at IDW, I think they just kept it consistent too, but it had the advantage of picking up after a very long hiatus. And so they got to do that that half reintroduction kind of issue where here it just literally continued from 300 and took off. So it's a little harder to get into. I totally get that, but I agree with you, Kat. Yeah.
Okay, so now that we won't bore Kat anymore, just like when you guys talk about Power Rangers to me. So
well, at least you got Power Rangers Returns.
You all with Dark Pride, yeah.
That's true. We all have the books set for each other. G.I. Joe's definitely that book for me.
There we go.
Did Power Rangers come out this week? I don't even know. I think it did.
Yeah, it did.
So look forward to it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna make sure I'll be like this. Oh, number 5, Kat. We'll start with you since you didn't talk about.
Mine was Primer. So it's very all ages. So I definitely say that's going on with that. But it's an interesting book. It's based on, well, it is the graphic novel. They just broke it apart as separate issues.
That's what I was going to ask you. Was it like a YA novel, or it was a graphic novel that was out?
Yeah, so it was a YA part of their graphic novel stuff, and then they're just like, let's do an issue that way people read it. I liked it. It was, I don't know if it's geared for me, but it's an interesting enough comic. It's about this girl who's like a foster kid who gets adopted by this family, and like the mom is keeping a secret. I was like, oh, that's a cool enough cliffhanger, especially if it was originally built as a graphic novel to end there. And I'm like, oh, I'm kind of curious to see what the mom's up to. The art is kind of fun, so I liked it enough. Would I say you guys gotta go out of your way for it? No, but I think if you want to have a little fun and have a light read, it gives you enough.
Cool. Yeah, I had no interest in this book. I saw it and I'm like, no, thank you. Yeah, this was like, it was just, I was like, I read so many, like,
no, there's a lot of books this week.
And when I saw, I think I read it that it was from a graphic novel or something like that. I was like, I'll pass. So that's just me, though. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, solid enough. Yeah. I finish it off. I think, again, if my store's like, I don't have issue 2, we'll never have it in.
You'll be like,
I don't think by heart.
Okay.
It'll be fine. But, it's good enough to get issue 2.
Gotcha. All right, Brad, what was yours?
I'm going back and forth, but I'll go with Miles Morales, issue 18. It was between that. Yeah, it was between that and Amazon's Attack, which I was like, well, I think I enjoyed Miles a little better, and it was a longer book, so it was a lot more story to it. This issue, this was
for
kind
Miles,
of the
right? You're saying
what's that?
Miles is a longer book for the
Miles
an anniversary issue, or
it's wasn't an anniversary.
The legacy numbering is 300.
Oh, that's why. I missed that for some reason or forgot about it. And I was like, why is this so long? But I kept expecting it to end and it just kept going. But no, this was a solid story, though. It was kind of the culmination of them fighting the Cape Killers, because this was their last day in operation, because that Powers Act was about to be abolished. And Rabble got involved and kind of made a deal with the leader of the Cape Killers and gave them new costumes, which gave them kind of enhanced power, but she could control their minds and their bodies through it. And so now she's taken over, and she's basically possibly killed Glurp, the clone of Miles that couldn't talk, by the end of it. And Miles is fighting for his life, and now he's got to not hold back and just kind of go at her full, hardcore going into next issue, or all his people are going to die.
All the people, like, he's controlling all of them. It's controlling their like central nervous system, where they're going to burn themselves out. And it's crazy. I like this issue. I thought it was great. And the good thing about it, like, it was a milestone issue, right? Because of 300 issues of Miles Morales.
Is it possible?
Is it? I don't know. I mean, who knows? It's
if you include the Ultimate Universe stuff, maybe.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe. I don't. That had to be at least 50 or 60, I think.
Yeah. And then all the other series, and maybe team up books or whatever.
There had to be some team up books in there.
Yeah. It's like, but they put the 300 on there, and at least for once, it was, like Brant said, a complete story. Like,
no backup stories. Was
no
just
backup story, nothing. One full story. And that's something we don't see that often anymore. And so I could really appreciate it. And the story had time to breathe. And the art was really good. There was the layouts are fantastic in there. The characters look badass. The coloring was good. Like, Miles is like powering up throughout the issue. I mean, I thought it was so good in that aspect. So was it a perfect story? No, because I thought it maybe did go on a little bit too long, and I think Cody Ziegler tends to repeat a lot of stuff in his storytelling, even within the same issue. But it was good.
I still like his take on Miles, though.
I'm enjoying
his writing overall. But no, I agree with that. There is a little bit of repetitiveness in it, typically, but it was still a really enjoyable issue.
Yeah,
I've liked this run a lot. So
I mean, I've said it multiple times. Like this, for me, this is the best Miles run since when Miles was in the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so my number 5, I think, was Green Arrow. Yeah, mine was Green Arrow. All right, so that makes that easy. So let's move on now to the next Spider book. There was a lot of Spider books this week, like a lot of Spider books.
There were.
Yeah.
I don't know how many. You have Jackpot, Black Cat, Ultimate Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Miles Morales. What else came out?
Superior, Edge.
Edge of Spider-Verse,
Yeah. So there was a ton of them this week.
Again, Surprise, Amazing, and Ultimate came out on the same week. But this, I forgot that I was enjoying this arc, and then I read this, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot." And
it's good.
Same.
She's making friends in jail. That was fun. I enjoyed Jackpot and Peter's dynamic. The only thing I didn't understand in the end is why they had to make Sandman evil again. Like the whole issue is about him being like, "I'm not like you," and then they're like, "Let's make him evil."
I don't get how he escaped though. Like all of a sudden,
okay.
Go ahead. Explain.
I'll tell you exactly.
Okay.
So Anna took a potted plant with her when she left.
Right.
And he was the sand in the potted plant. So
okay.
he left behind a part of him, but the bulk of him was in that plant apparently.
Okay.
So when
but why does he want to be evil?
So I think he's got like a split personality. So he's this William Baker guy and he's Flint Marko. And the Flint Marko personality took over and he escaped. Was basically what happened.
That I did not. That I didn't understand because I kept trying to read back and I was like,
"Yeah, me too." Yeah. I was a little bit confused by that, and all I took was it was like, okay, well now he's Sandman again, and somehow he got back to the Sinister Six. But the only problem with this is now the next issue. It's going to go to Chasm and Hallows Eve, and it gets away from what we were doing in this story. But I tell you, when this story is not attached to an event or when John Romita Jr. is not doing the artwork, it's such a much better comic book.
Although let's talk about that opener with that random, and I remember her. I remember the issue that she shows up. The lawyer girl thought she was on a date with him. I was just you thought that was a date? It almost felt like because obviously you want to get to the point where Peter and MJ are talking about their relationship. So that's why you kind of have that moment. But why doesn't he just go on like a dating app and just be like, I had a date that went badly. Why did you have to make this character from the 30 issues ago that wasn't a date show up and say, you ruined our date? And he's like, what date?
That was ridiculous because it's like, who remembers that? I was like lost for a minute. I was like,
I found it funny where she was like, I thought that was kind of hot, and I'm like, really? I would just love to be like, just Peter hook up with somebody, and that's not Mary Jane and Black Cat. And
again, why not do the dating app situation then? That's how most people find. Yeah, just like make it, and that's modern, right? That's a modern way. That's how people find people, and then it's just like, okay, Spider-Man is your average guy. Let him go on a dating app. Let him have a bad date or a good date, and that honestly be kind of fun.
Right.
Yeah. Or, he's a regular at that coffee shop now. He could just meet somebody at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. Like something just to be, I think what we're all looking for, depending on modern dating, not, whatever we're looking for is an organic connection with someone new that's not related to Spider-Man.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that would be fun because again, that's why MJ was created. That's where Gwen and all these other characters came about, is that they were just people in Peter's life. Like bring someone new to Peter's life.
Yeah, it's like
exactly.
it humanizes him. Like
No.
it's just there's nobody there now. And now you have Mary Jane, who's even a superhero. So there's like nobody that's just normal for him to be with. He is still just a normal guy. I mean, dude, the guy's got needs, man. I mean, it's like seriously.
But maybe
I mean,
that's the MJ issue, though. I think it's like as much as we want to see that and see him as the average guy and just like see him have his love life, it's just more. I think it just gets you stuck in the same situation MJ's been stuck in. It's just like, oh, well, we had MJ and it didn't really work out. Because when you do have that average Joe, it's like, well, what do you do with them when he's Spider-Man?
Yeah.
We'll talk about the other book in a minute here. So
We'll talk about Jack.
yeah, we'll talk about that one. So let's talk about the Feral issue 1. So listen, I was a huge fan of Stray Dogs, and after reading this, it looks like I'm going to be a huge fan of Feral as well.
Did you all know that this was ongoing?
I did not know until I read the back of it. Yeah, I'm like, whoa! I'm like, wait a second, that's crazy.
And honestly,
I had no idea.
As someone who didn't really read Stray Dogs but knew the concept, it was cool to see them do a similar thing but in a different genre. It's like, okay, we did a murder mystery before. Now it's it's a zombie story.
Basically a zombie, yeah. Right.
And I like the Raby connection. I thought the ending was really good because you kind of connect to these characters. You're like, oh no, she's gonna be a zombie. So I thought it was a really solid issue. I thought it was a good start, and I'm guessing, obviously you'll be able to say it. Sorry, I was reading a comment.
I know which one you're talking about.
I'll read it just because it's just such an interesting comment. Marvel really hates Mary Jane as a character, so now she's another bland superhero named Jackpot. I fear the current Marvel wants Peter Parker to be gay. That's a lot. Okay, but I don't know how to unravel that. But I've never seen Peter as a queer character. I don't know how to answer that, but
yeah.
And nothing is wrong with being gay. Obviously, I'm a queer person, but I don't think Marvel's gonna do that with Peter. And even so, like I don't think it has to. I think they don't know what to do. Even if he was with a guy, I don't think they would know what to do with him. I don't think it has to do with the gender. It's just that him being in a romantic relationship in general, they don't know what to do with.
Right.
They can't handle it with him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. Yeah.
Going back to Feral. Yeah. Feral. What I love about this book is that it does something so unique that a lot of other books don't do, right? It's like we don't focus on the human characters at all. You never see their face, right? And so you always focus on the emotions of the animals. And they're so full of emotion that you get so attached to them and you can't help but feel sorry for them, right? So for the cat that wound up getting which looks like got infected at the end of it, just licking its paws, and it's like, okay, I'm on my way, and it zeroes in right on those eyes, seeing that already that I don't remember if it was a he or she that like wound up getting, you can tell that is getting affected by the whole situation, and that could be for the cat's patient zero, but it is such a artistically, it's so well done, and that's what I love about it. It has this familiar. It's familiar because it's like a Disney cartoon, but yet it's unique in its own way, So it's beautifully written, and I cannot wait how this whole thing is going to turn out.
Yeah, and that was part of the appeal of Stray Dogs, was that you had like basically that Disney cartoon art, animated style art, but it's it's
dark. It's a dark story.
Dark and grim and gory.
Yeah.
All that stuff, and you're going to get that here too. And I like that we have like different personality types in these cats. So you have like Patch that's like stubborn and older and set in the ways. You got the mothering, I think your name was Elsie or something, and then you got Lord, who's like the young, naive.
Yeah,
just go out there in the middle of it. So you're getting a lot of variety in that too. And just I think it's going to be really interesting to see a zombie story told in this way and through these cats and figure out like how that all came to be, and you're starting like with the TV version of Walking Dead. I think they did it in the comic too, where he wakes up in the hospital and everything's gone to crap.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same way here. The truck turns over. We don't know what happened to bring it to that point. And I like it when it starts off that way. So
right.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
Really good issue.
Yeah. And it's so hard to do a follow-up to something that was so popular. And again, I think Don Gustavo says that Stray Dogs was a sleeper hit. This is a most anticipated book. And
right.
Yeah, I think that's it's interesting to be able to top it, but by doing something different, but still being familiar to Stray Dogs. Right. I really think he nailed it on that.
Yep, absolutely. I cannot wait, man. I am so excited for this.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on now to our number 4. So, Bram, what was your number 4 this time?
Mine was Green Arrow. So we already talked about it.
Okay. What about you, Kat?
Mine was Amazing Spider-Man. We already talked about it.
Mine was Wolverine issue 46, the continuation of the Sabretooth War. Good book overall. This was a better issue this time around. Last issue wasn't so great. You got Wolverine. You got Sabretooth running around with Quentin Quire's head, and it's kind of taking control of Wolverine. So Sabretooth has control of Wolverine, trying to go into the depths of Krakoa, into Forge's little laboratory to get a weapon to depower mutants. So that is his goal. But in the meantime, Quentin Quire sent out this silent distress signal to the Exiles to come rescue him. And there's this whole battle that commences at the end of it. And we see that Laura is alive by the time we get to the end of it as well. Just a lot of action, a lot of gore, just a lot of fun. This is, the art in this, the pencils, phenomenal, and really good issue here. So I enjoyed it.
It's interesting that like the way he's using Quentin is to convince Wolverine he's like when they were friends. He's flashing back to like missions that they've been on before. So that's kind of an interesting tactic. But Quentin kind of gets in his head and it's like, you actually like Wolverine, don't you?
Yeah.
You like being friends with him and hanging out and all this stuff. And he's like just slowly picking Sabretooth apart, which I thought was interesting as well. But I'm really curious to see how Quentin gets his body back because we know that's coming.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know how that's going to happen, but
No, but it's a fun book, man. I like it, and it's definitely a fun story. The story is split between 2 writers, but you can tell almost when like Benjamin Percy's writing the book. So
who's the other writer?
I forgot the guy's name.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Yeah, but you can totally tell when Benjamin Percy's writing it. So it's like almost the issues Benjamin Percy's not writing. It's more like a little bit of a setup issue, and then when you're looking for the action or to make things really interesting, that's when like Benjamin Percy goes forward with it, So, all right. And so now we're going to move on to,
I think
Jackpot and Black Cat issue 1. So for me, I'm going to tell you that this story for me was like average. Like
it wasn't as bad as the one shot.
No,
yeah, it was. Yeah,
no,
it wasn't.
Bad. I'll tell you the reason why. Because at least in my eyes, because Felicia was in it. I thought she made it interesting. If you took Felicia out of the equation, I think Mary Jane and the mission that she was going on would have been horrible. And the relationship between her and Paul is horrible as well. And I'm not saying that just because I hate Paul. When you look at their relationship, it's flat. There's no love in there.
So maybe Peter shouldn't find somebody.
Right?
Because if MJ could find Paul, maybe Peter is better off not finding a Paul.
Yeah, it's just a hollow relationship. It's like, give me the coordinates to this, Paul. Okay, there you go. There's more of somewhat of an intimate relationship between Mary Jane and Black Cat just as friends, and you see that.
Totally.
And now where Black Cat's been all this time. She's been hanging out with this random chick. So there's that been going on too. And the other thing that drove me crazy about this book is the power set of Jackpot, or Mary Jane, I should say, where it's just now she can just flip it whenever she wants. I don't like this one. I don't like that one. And she can get flipping it until she finds the power that she wants, where before it was a limited time. And it's just like, well, what's the point now? There's nothing there. It makes her power just pointless at this point.
I think she was better written in The Amazing Spider-Man because she did have someone to bounce off of, which was Peter. And I agree. I think in this book, the best part, and not just because there was Felicia having her girlfriend, but the best part was the middle. It was getting to see what Black Cat's been up to, seeing that relationship, but then also seeing her talk to MJ and just be MJ's like, I'm trying to look out for you. This is the mission going on. Then like they're both in trouble by the end. I was like, oh, when you made it personal, that was fun because that's what worked with the Jed McKay stuff. Even if Jackpot didn't work as a character, she worked in those books because of their friendship, and you get a little bit of that here, but not to the extent of those books. But it wasn't bad. It was like number 6 or 7 for me, because I still had a decent enough time with it. It's just not great either, which kind of sucks because we know it can be great. We know it can be the best Spider-Man book on stands, like it was. Yeah,
it was like 9 for me, so I enjoyed it, but those all the stuff that both of you have said, and I still think Mary Jane knows how to superhero too well at this point. I think
we'll give her that she's been around Peter a long time. We'll give her that.
True. Yes, I'll give her that. But at the same time, like you said, Mike, with the powers, it's like she's too powerful now because she can just dial up whatever she needs, and she automatically knows how to use everything. And it's almost too perfect. And
it's too easy.
It is a little too easy. And I also, Black Cat's character that has grown so much over the past few years, I feel like wouldn't be that distressed, even if it is to protect, her girlfriend. I don't think she would be that like stressed about somebody trying to blackmail her and stuff. She wouldn't just like crumble like that. And I felt like that strength, right? And I felt like that strength that she's developed over the past few years just wasn't there. And I'm hoping there's more to it than this, but that was a little bit of a problem for me as well. But still much better than that one shot. Yeah. And I still enjoyed it.
Because it's got a little bit more time to breathe. It has a story to tell. But
and even the plot itself is interesting enough. Because again, you do get to see them interact, and it's like, okay, cool. Like I'm interested to see where issue 2 goes. I'm sure there's people giving it a hard time on the internet, but it's not bad. It's not great. But
the power set is what really drives me crazy, because it's just like, I get that she's been around Peter forever, but just because you've been around somebody doesn't make you a hero.
She's had to defend herself a lot. I'll give her that. But I agree with the power set. I don't think she should know her powers, but I think she should know how to fight, because we've seen that from her.
Fighting and just using that. Like, you get the power of hair, like Medusa. Right. You know how to use that. Yeah. You have this armor. You know how to use that. Like, it's just it's just, I don't know. She's like, this situation's not going to work. Like, that for sure it's not going to work.
It's like, if I pick up a pair of nunchucks, I don't know how to use them. I'm going to hit myself.
Right. Exactly.
And it would not work out.
No, it would not. It would not be pretty.
What if this story arc, though, does lead to the end of Paul?
I'm all for it.
I'm all for it, but also at this point, I wish he had just like kind of be written out. Just be written out. Never mention him again. I don't even need a big deal. Just like, all right, never have to see Paul again. I will be perfectly fine.
Like, see, what I don't like about Paul also is that it seems like Mary Jane relies on him too much for information and to be guided by him at the same time.
Which I also don't know why. It's like he's such a useless character. And I think the biggest issue is, again, it goes back to chemistry. They don't have chemistry when they talk. It's just so it's a very weird dynamic.
I'm gonna use this comment to solve the Paul problem. So, hello friends, when will they write Paul out of Spidey, which we're talking about, and will Blood Hunt be highly anticipated? Bronze Page, thanks for the question. What I'm gonna do though is fix our problem. So Paul becomes a vampire during Blood Hunt. He has to be taken out. done with Paul. There you go.
I like it.
Simple
You know,
solution.
I'm game for that. Anything that will make him disappear. To answer the question with Blood Hunt being highly anticipated, not for me. Like I'll pick it up, but honestly, when you have 50,000 books being released, I cannot anticipate. And I don't usually anticipate events anyways. Like if an event surprises me, like we just had Beast World, like I'm always like, yay, great. But it's never like, whoa, can't wait for that. Unless it's like a character event, like War of the Realms or Gang War even. Like those, like you're building up to it. So but yeah, these world events I tend not to care about.
Yeah, I'm sure there are people that are excited about Blood Hunt. I mean,
especially Blade fans.
It's just not us, unfortunately.
I'm not excited for it, but I'm going to read it.
Sure, me too.
In hopes that I kept my expectations down, and then it kind of blows me out of the water. That's what I'm hoping for.
I'll read the main series.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk. Well, you guys, I'm going to get some water. You guys talk about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
There's not much in this issue in particular, I will say. It didn't make my top 5.
No.
It really is mostly just like kind of a talking heads issue. It's just like, all right, this character is doing this little thing. This character is doing this little thing. But there's not actually anything that happens in this issue.
Yeah. I mean, Kim and Tommy reunite. And, there was that whole little thing. There was the thing with Zed and Rita, which was fine, but it was a lot of that. It was like, let me save you from this. Oh, let me reunite with you. And then, it's just, there wasn't a whole lot going on. You're right. Not especially one of the most exciting issues. Yeah.
In 2 issues ago, you had the Lord Draken and the Kim thing. And I'm like, I kind of want to go back to the height of that, the consequences of that.
Yeah. So. Yeah, you didn't. You're back just in time, Mike, because there wasn't.
It's not like I was like right there. It's like I could hear the whole conversation.
Right.
The whole Power Rangers conversation. This one, and it's also interesting because this is coming out and returns, and now I'm getting a little confused because there's also another Kimberly book. I'm like, so what? Which one?
Yeah.
They're all different universes too.
Yeah. That said, this wasn't a bad read or anything like that.
No.
It's still consistent. It was one of those like, we're in the middle of this thing, so let's just kind of let's set everybody where they need to be so we can go into the next part of this. But
yeah.
All right, cool. Let's see, number 3, right? So Brant, what's yours?
Duke.
Oh, that's mine too.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Well, it's not mine. It's the Green Arrow for me.
Green Arrow. It's so funny. Green Arrow is like
5, 4, and 3.
5, 4, and 3. Yeah. That's awesome. All right. So that was easy, man. Okay. So let's go to, we talked about Wolverine. Amazon Attacks issue 6. What did you guys think of this one this time around?
Final issue.
Final issue. Interesting book because the best part of this book is the characters, and this issue is like, oh yeah, we have a plot to do, so let's wrap that up. And it was not the most interesting issue because of it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I was like, well, no, Miles got to beat that out for me this week. It was exactly that. It was like, we have to finish this story. We got to wrap all these threads up. And it wasn't as character driven as the previous issues, which were better. So this was this is probably the least of the entire series for me.
This issue. Me too.
But I still enjoyed the read. It was fine. I really like
really solid too.
Yeah, for sure. I like Mary Marvel in this, especially, and she kind of came into her own at the end there. All of them had little moments in this issue. I think just wasn't as strong, but.
I agree.
Not a whole lot to say about it though, because it's the whole like story still continues over in Wonder Woman, so it's like their part of it's done. But
I guess it will. I wonder where Cassie, she's already shown up in Wonder Woman, so
they referenced it like the thing that happened in issue 5 where she told them all, like she beat them in all those little contests and said, I'm gonna handle this on my own. So they referenced that in this issue. So I think this kind of took place back then, like during that issue, and now
they're done.
Wonder Woman. Yeah. Exactly.
All right, very cool. So let's see. Now we move on to number 2. So
I feel like we might all have the same one, but we'll see. I'm curious to see.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, what do you think it's going to be then, Kat?
I thought Feral because that's what I picked, but I don't know if you guys would.
That's what
it.
I picked as well.
Yeah.
That's what I picked too.
Okay.
Okay, so we're all going to have the same number 2 and 1, I think.
Yeah, because I was like, all right, like I have to think these are going to be the top 2, but it depends on how much you enjoyed more. But I mean, also goes towards fandom towards that, and I even like kind of chose that when I was ranking. I'm like, well, Spider-Man, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Exactly. All right, so let's talk about X-Men 97, which, Kat, you didn't read it?
No, I haven't followed the show because I wasn't like a huge fan of the original X-Men 90s stuff because it kind of missed my time, but I'm glad people are enjoying it. And so I skipped it.
It's good. I liked it. It's a prelude to everything that's kind of going on right now in the show,
in the new animated,
right. And they try to make the animation, the drawings the same like the animated series. So a lot of the little things again that's been going on was in the comic, which I liked. I thought it was fine. The characters were very much in character here, and it was a good book. Was it the best thing I ever read? Probably not, but still, it was fun to read.
Yeah, it was fine. I still only watched one episode of the show, which I didn't love as much as I hoped I would. I thought Wolverine's voice was a little weird, but
you get used to it. You get used to the voice. Yeah,
but he always had a weird voice, right?
Yeah, but it was
he did.
It was more deeper. You know,
yeah, it's a little forced, at least in that first episode. So, anyway, this the comic, I thought it did a really good job of bridging that gap between the two animated series. So the cliffhanger for issue 1, spoiler alert, she's pregnant, and she's pregnant in the show. So it's like we get that very beginning of it. So it did a really nice job kind of continuing there and kind of establishing their characters and kind of reminding you where they were at. So
is it a mini series or is it a one shot?
No, it keeps going.
It doesn't keep going. So
yeah, it's gonna keep going. Yeah.
I wasn't sure actually.
So after watching episode 1 from X-Men 97, I thought it was good, but like, was I blown away? But issue 2, episode 2 was better than episode 1.
Okay.
Episode 3, however, blows away the first 2 episodes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
It starts getting really, really good. And so by the time you get done watching episode 2 at the very end, you're going to be like, oh shit, they're really going there with this. And it gets a lot better. And I'll tell you that, just not giving anything away, but episode 3 gets really dark.
Gotcha.
So it's good stuff. Yeah. I was like on the edge of my seat on that episode 3. So great storytelling there.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch it, but go ahead.
Don asks if Kamala will be in X-Men 97.
Please.
I mean, if Kitty's not gonna be in X-Men 97, I don't think Kamala will. I also don't like. Yeah. I don't see newer characters showing up. I think you get characters.
Right.
Honestly, the closest you probably will get is Kitty. People that were like in the 90s. But I don't even know if Kitty would even show up in that story. I feel like Jubilee's that character. So.
Right. Yeah. I don't see it honestly, but you never know. They could throw in somebody we're not expecting.
No. Yeah. The one of my favorite characters in this show so far is Morph, because he's more in this show and he gets to use his powers better in this, and it makes for some cool stuff that happens. So
back then it was like Morph was a new character and he wasn't the version that we see in the comics at all. So even in that first episode, I felt like he was more kind of like that character, and I was like, okay, they could do something better with this character now. So I'm glad to hear that.
Absolutely. All right. Oh yeah, did you see? Yeah, they added Sunspot to the. To the show too.
He was in the first episode. Just wasn't using his powers. Yeah,
right.
What about Spider-Man? I think it depends if they. I thought I heard a rumor they might want to do more of the '90s shows, so I could see them like maybe doing a Spider-Man 90s show.
I can see them doing that too. Yeah.
And which I would watch that. I know they were planning on doing another Spider-Man cartoon. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I don't know what's been going on with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's more up my alley. Like I like this Spider-Man 90s cartoon.
For sure.
What else was? I mean, even like you had Hulk back then too. You had a lot of the 90s cartoons. So
yeah, there was like Silver Surfer. Wasn't there Iron Man?
Yeah, Avengers.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. All right, so
Andrew Cab says, I don't know why I came here because I have opposite opinions of all three of you, but here we are. Hey, that's the glory of all of it. We're all allowed to have lack of live midnight content. Look, I hope you're enjoying it. I think it'd be boring if
we all agree. Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah. There's a lot of times we three don't agree. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, I was gonna say that. Like, interestingly enough, I do think we agree a lot, but there's times where we are on total opposite sides of the map, and I think that's always the most fun conversations is when you're like, oh, I didn't see that. Why was that? And what's fun too is I feel like it happens to all three of us. It's not just like, oh, Brant's the only one who has a different opinion, or Mike. It's all three of us have a different opinions on something. And for me, like, I don't like G.I. Joe. That's a good example. You guys love Duke, but I dropped that book. Or I might really like Spider-Gwen. You guys don't like it as much. Like I think that's a good example. So
like, point being, like Spider-Gwen Smash, like you'll be like your number one, or Power Pack will be your number one. And Brandon are like, what? And it's just like that's just the way it is.
It's funny, like weeks like this, like our top fives are very similar, and then there's other weeks they're all completely different, all over the place. So
yeah. And it's fun when like big books don't come out, because that like last week, and I've shocked everybody, even like my friends saw like Lilo and Stitch on the table. They're like, there's a Lilo and Stitch comic, and I'm like, get this, it was my pick of the week. And they're like, it was. And I was like, yeah, because it's just like it was good. Andrew says, I love that about comics. I can hate what you like and vice versa, but we're all fans. Exactly. And we all just got to be nice to each other about it and just respect each other.
Yeah. There's no right or wrong, and it's just like it's when you call,
unless you like Paul. No,
it's just, I don't like when you go so over the top when you dislike a comic and you just like call it garbage and it's trash and it's this and it's that and everything is bad and everything is negative. Well, again, that's your opinion, right? So don't get mad at somebody because they like a book. It's all opinionated. So
a great example is Iceman, a book that we really didn't like, but there's people, if you go out in this like X-Men fans, like, I loved Iceman, or Krakoa in general. There's so many the X-Men hive good people that are just like, I love Krakoa. And we saw it in our comments. I think it was last week, where they're like, well, I don't think there's anything wrong with Krakoa. And there's a lot of fans like that, but for us, Krakoa, we just didn't like it,
It's funny because we're talking about these opinions, and love how everyone hates Paul. I don't think there's a single person though that actually likes that character.
I've never met a person who's ever said, you know what, Paul's okay. I've never. And obviously, I think that's the point of the character. It's kind of like the Dan Slott situation, or at least what he said when Alpha came out. He was just like, no, the point was to hate him,
Yeah, that's great. All right, let's talk about our last book here. And it's funny because I looked at this book in my hands when I was at the shop. I already had like 5 or 6 number ones to cover, and I was like, do I want to cover this one? I looked on the interior art, and I was kind of like, it doesn't look exciting to me. So I put it back down. So I'm curious to hear what you guys thought about this one.
What's so interesting about that comment is that I thought the art was the most exciting part of this book than the story. Because I'm not a magic fan. And maybe Brant will have a different opinion, but it's very magic-y. And here's this magic person. Here's this. And I'm like, ooh, this is not my bag. And I'm like, the art's pretty.
This is Under York for anybody. I don't think.
Yes, Under York.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
Yeah. No, I actually agree with you. I'm kind of in the middle. I didn't love the art. and I didn't love the story as much as I had hoped either. So I was a little bit disappointed because I was really excited about this book. I thought the concept sounded really cool, but it just didn't give me enough. And I felt like what I thought the book was going to be was completely different than what it actually was. So I don't know that I'm going to come back for issue 2, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's hard. There's so many books out, and you got to keep the ones that you really love. I mean, even like Local Man's a book where I'm always debating, like, should I continue reading it? I'm not really liking it because I mean, the one shot came out this week.
If you're debating, you should.
Right.
Yeah, drop it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this the one that had Merca art? Was it Merca?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So maybe it was the coloring that just threw it off for me, but it just looked different to me. I didn't like it as much as
Merca Adolfo did the artwork in that book.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It did.
That's why I picked it up.
Exactly. That's what put it on my radar as well. That and
the coloring was darker. I think that definitely was.
Yeah,
it. Was
maybe
like
that's
much darker coloring. But that's what I was looking at the pencils, and I really liked that. But yeah, it just did. I think if you love high fantasy, and I know Brant does like fantasy, but I think it really is for a very specific person that will like this book.
Yeah, it's just I don't feel like we got enough of that side of it. And we were so like thrown into the middle of the story without a whole lot of explanation as to where it was like that little bit at the very beginning, but then that was like a different character, and it's like, where does she come from? Like, what is her story? I don't know what's going on here really. So
I 100% agree. I think it was more of like, I want to like these characters, but there's not really enough. And again, you get so many books during the week where it's just like you got to pick and choose what you want.
Yeah.
I want to just point this out because there was a comment here about Superior Spider-Man. We didn't talk about it. Kat, do you read Superior Spider-Man?
I read the first issue and I was like, this is not, I'm good.
Rand, are you reading Superior?
What's that?
Are you reading Superior?
I am. I wish I kind of dropped it, but yeah, I'm reading it.
So what did you
like
think? Well, I didn't expect the end, and I don't know how they're going to tie it.
Yeah, that was weird. Oh, Kat doesn't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a weird. I didn't see that coming. So at the end of this issue, Kat, the basically Otto possesses Spider Boy.
What is with them and Spider Boy?
Spider Boy, yeah. So and it's like the he's there with those spiders that talk to Peter,
right.
And somehow Otto's like gotten into those, and yeah. So he gets into Spider Boy, and now it ends on the cliffhanger of the Superior Spider.
Why is Spider Boy in every comic? He was in Spider Woman. He's now Superior Spider-Man. I get the Dan Slott connection because Dan Slott.
I honestly don't think that Spider Boy is a bad comic book. I actually think it's pretty good, in my opinion. I just don't know how now, because based off of what we've been reading in Spider Boy, how they're going to tie that into the main book. Like, I'm kind of lost in all that.
Yeah, exactly. It threw me. And that was the one thing that's like kept me on the, I need to kind of see this through. Up until that point, I was like, I'm over this whole supernova thing.
Because I was like, how are they going to continue Superior Spider-Man when that whole story arc was done? And now it's like, Spider Boy's involved. Unless Spider Boy comic, the main comic, takes place at a different time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll explain it as the next issue or whatever.
It's very strange because, again, mentioned before, but Dan Slott writes both books. So it's not like, here this random writer wanted to do this with Spider Boy. It's just like, I'm guessing he has to tie that in somehow.
There's got to be some way, right?
Yeah. Very interesting on that.
Chevy asks if people care about Spider Boy. Yeah, no, people like Spider Boy. He's not my type of character, but I know that Brant and Mike have been reading it, been enjoying it.
The
people in the comments are enjoying it.
Yeah, I think the person that created Spider Boy, she respected the High Evolutionary. I was like, she's a High Evolutionary ripoff. And then sure enough, the High Evolutionary comes around in the last issue of it or whatever it is. And it's just like, he doesn't respect her. It's just like, it's kind of funny, actually.
Yeah. That said, I wouldn't be sad if like he just like went away. but at the same time, I don't hate him. It's not like Alpha or anything.
Yeah.
I was more excited in the beginning of the potential of who he was, and then when he was revealed, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I saw it through, but not my thing. But yeah, he's for somebody for sure.
All right, cool. So now our number one comic is obviously Ultimate Spider.
Well, Spider-Punk, of course, right?
Yeah.
Was it bad? It wasn't bad. I thought it was better than issue 1.
No, I actually like Spider-Punk. I was just making a joke because it was the only Spider book we hadn't talked about, right? So,
come on, guys. Edge of Spider-Verse was the best.
Right. Yes. All books I read.
That one wasn't too bad for me either. I thought that one was better than the last one. It was like
Edge of Spider-Verse it's hard to invest in because they're just so random.
Like a Nightmare Before Christmas type of issue.
Yeah.
But they have like 3 characters, right? Or they're doing just one each now?
No, 3 still. Or was there only 2 in this one? I don't remember.
Listen, it was titled 3 stories in the book.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but there was only 2.
There's only 2 stories in it.
Yeah, it was supposed to have a Spider-Man 2099 story.
Yes,
and it didn't.
And it's only 2 stories in there. I mentioned that in my video. I'm like totally like weirded out by that. I'm like, what the hell happened there?
It's actually in the credits, Kat. There's it has the credits for all 3 stories, but then there's only 2 stories.
And how did even the page count? I'm curious how they dealt with that. Because I'm guessing if there's supposed to be 3 stories, it would be a smaller book.
Right. I don't know. That lead story was pretty long though.
Yeah, the lead story was long.
And maybe that's why, and they forgot to change the cover.
Small.
Maybe.
So, I don't know.
Something's going on there.
Yep.
Anyway, Ultimate Spider-Man, obviously. Yeah.
Yes, Ultimate Spider-Man. We all liked it. It'll probably continue to be our number ones for a long time.
A long time, yeah. All right. Let's go to you, Brant. Let's talk about the most anticipated books.
Yeah, let's do it. So, like Kat said, we got a lot of books coming out, and we've only got one, I think, that's all 3 of us have, and it's all our number 1, so we'll save that one. I put Deadpool on here by default just because, 1, I didn't want to just copy one of y'all's, but 2, because Cody Ziegler is actually writing this.
Right.
I'm curious about it. I'm definitely going to try it, at least in the issue. He writes Spider-Punk, he's writing Miles, and now, Deadpool, I'm going to give it a shot, and hopefully it's good.
Yeah, I'm praying too. I want to like a Deadpool book.
Right. Yeah. So, Mike, you have Sacrificers. I know we're all excited about that. New story arc starting here. So
yeah, new story arc. We get to see our main character who wound up getting affected by the brain juice. I guess that's what you want to call it. That gave him
that's what it is.
Superpowers, So he got all strong and he left the daughter of the god behind. And I'm curious to see where they're really going to go with this story now. Hopefully it continues to improve and not drop off. Sometimes Rick Remender books tend to do that, but other times they tend to stay really good as well. So we'll see where it goes at this point. I think this is a very important issue.
Andrew Cab asks, do y'all get in indies at all? Lots of weird, fun indie stuff out there. Well, Sacrificers being one. But also, me and Brant write indie comics. If you really want indie, we both write Kickstarter books. So, and run our own independent publishing houses. So, check out our Kickstarter stuff. But yeah, we read stuff all over the map. That's the fun part of it all.
Yeah,
we even talked about Webtoon this episode.
Yeah. So a lot of indie stuff. And let's go to you, Kat. Then Shazam, this almost made my list too. New creative team taking over with this one.
Exactly. So you have I can never pronounce her last name, Manuela
Lupacchino, I think.
Yeah.
That's how I say it. Yeah.
She's doing the art, great art. And then you have the writer who did honestly has hit everything out of the park. Amazon's Attacks, wrote the Mary Marvel book. I think this is going to be a really, really good issue. So I'm excited about it. I want Shazam just to be a fun, but are there links? Yes. We'll give you links to our stuff as well. But I'm going to give Last Ember and I'll give my Kickstarter stuff. But Shazam, I'm looking forward to it.
And speaking of, I know somebody mentioned Ghost Machine in the comments. Rook Exodus issue number 1 is the one that I'm most looking forward to. So that made my most anticipated list this week. Thank you for sharing that, Kat.
No problem.
And this one was just the concept that appealed to me most when we went through all those. This is the one where they're on the planet and they have those masks that control different animals and stuff.
So I'm excited for that too. Looks cool.
I know we also have.
I didn't hear what you said.
Rook Exodus from Ghost Machine.
Right. Okay. The Ghost Machine stuff.
Yeah. So that's the one where they have the masks and talk to or control like the different animal types and stuff. We also have Geiger and Redcoat coming out tomorrow. So those are the 3 from Ghost Machine that are coming out. So,
Geiger is just a continuation of
the first volume.
It's just a volume.
It's just a new volume. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And let's see. Ghost Lore is on yours, Kat. You're the only one left reading this book. I know Mike and I read at least a couple issues. But.
Yeah. It's not a book that's like, wow, guys, why are you not reading it? But it's just one of those reliable series that I'm enjoying as a horror fan. I also have a soft spot for the artist because I really loved all the Basket Full of Heads stuff. So it's the same artist that's done that. So I'm having fun enough time with it. So I'm not getting that many books next week. So that's why I said, you know what? I'll put this. I'll highlight this book. It's a fun time. And I think it's ending soon. I think this is the penultimate issue. But if you like ghosts, mostly if you liked Basket Full of Heads, I think you'll like this.
And you of course Gunslinger Spawn's got to make on your list, Mike, so that's a consistent one for you.
Always a book that I've always enjoyed. It doesn't matter when it comes out or what issue it is or what's going on in it. It's always a fun read. It's just like I've said it before. It's like Wolverine for me, but like in gunslinger form, it's just, that's what I like about it, and now he's got no powers. So he's really much like a normal man almost, but he still has like the symbiote suit on him. And now he's teaming up with just a normal everyday, housekeeper from a hotel to rely on him or rely on her to get information to travel and to drive and all these different things. And I like it. I think it's just a fantastic book.
Yeah. And I'm wrong. We don't all have one. It's just me and Mike that have one the same. Your number 1, Kat, is Spider-Man Shadow of the Green Goblin. I am curious about this one.
This is the original Green Goblin who's not Norman Osborn. So that's why I was like, oh, that's a cool take. I think J.M. DeMatteis, I can never pronounce his last name either.
Yeah.
He's writing it. And the only nostalgia book I liked was the one he wrote, which was the Kraven the Last Hunt continuation story. And he did a really good job with that. So I was like, you know what? I think this could be really solid. He's always a solid writer, especially when it comes to Spider-Man. We're getting something new. It's not just a nostalgia book. So I am interested in this one.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I am too. It's like prototype Green Goblin type of character. And, we'll see what happens to this character. Something tells me he dies.
It could be. Or like,
I mean, that could make sense.
Because I guess thinking about the original Green Goblin, like Norman Osborn created the serum.
Right.
So be it. So maybe someone else did.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Interesting too.
Or he tested it on somebody else before that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Mike and I have Void Rivals. Issue number 8 is our most anticipated.
Yeah.
So.
It's a new arc or the arc? Okay, so it's continuing.
It's a continuation. It's a second issue of the new arc where they're still stuck in these wastelands, and we got that bounty hunter going after them. And I don't know. We'll see where it goes from there, though. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, same. And that's it. That's all our most anticipated. Obviously, we're looking forward to other books as well, but those are the main ones, I guess.
Yep, absolutely.
Those are big ones. Also, reminder, I won't be on next week, so it's just going to be Brant and Mike for this one. So, I will not be on, but check out my the ranking best comics of the week. I do on my channel if you want my thoughts on all that.
Yep, of course. And we'll miss Kat. And I'm sure you guys will too. And hopefully you guys will still watch Brant and myself. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Hopefully you had a fun show. Thank you for all your comments and your questions. We love you that you're on here. And of course, don't forget, guys, to make sure you follow us or subscribe to our channels. Comic Book Corner 2.0, Only Good Comics, Comic Uno. And don't forget to follow or subscribe to Comic Book Weekly as well. Give all these channels a thumbs up. Hit the bell for notifications. Follow us on social media stuff. And of course, guys, it's New Comic Book Day. So happy New Comic Book Day. And until next week for Brant and I and Kat in 2 weeks, we'll see y'all guys all later. So